I told you my concern. I don't know what the rest is. They're working. They're going to work.
Really?
But you know,
Hear ye, hear ye. Yeah, because I really don't want to be here anymore. And it's because it's been a tough 4 years. Yeah, you know. So I'm. Somebody asked me today how many days, and I said 6 months, and I said 15 days.
I know, but they're still not
After today.
That's why we know we're going to have a meeting with, what's his name?
Excuse me. Let's roll, dear.
Get back on.
You're live.
Yeah.
Call this work session to order. Roll call, please.
Donnie Bryant.
Present.
Mario Todd.
Here.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
Bill Bruner.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
Attorney Leslie Votaw. Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
Clerk Treasurer Jackie Stats here.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Hi, Mr. McDaniel. Thanks for coming. This was on our agenda last meeting. We did table it till tonight to try to do a work session to work through some of the issues by the parties. You did get a copy of Mr. McDaniel's proposed changes to my original lease agreement. The major changes were the term, the rent. No, the rent didn't change. There was additional parking that we wanted paid, $2 per customer. They took that out. I believe they said they wanted the lessor to pay that. The insurance number 4 did not change. The use, there was some language added, but both 6 and 7 were not big changes or changes that I saw any problem with. The maintenance and repairs is definitely something we need to go over. And then the right to terminate, there's a couple things there that they added. The option to purchase is changed completely. They did change that, and the default part of it. The only other thing is the attorney fee provision. We'd asked the attorney fees and costs be paid for against a defaulting the prevailing party shall receive. They just asked for that to be stricken, and it'd just be a choice of law, which would be in Indiana. So, I don't know where the board wants to start with this. One of the things I do know, as far as previous talks from the board or from the mayor, was the amount of rent. Anybody wants to address that?
I would like to go back to the last meeting when I made the motion that we need to, the contracts up, give them notice, and put the boat up for sale, public auction.
Yeah. Motion died. Are you doing another motion like that? I mean, that motion died for like a second.
Are you just bringing up discussions, what you're doing? Or putting it in motion?
I put it in a motion. We need to move on with this thing.
And did we have discussion we'd have to honor at least the end of this year, Les? Under last year's agreement, or should I say the last contract?
Once we put him on notice, right?
Yes, once we put on notice. The thing is that the only thing that I can see that we haven't done according to the old agreement was meet with a mediator if we could not find mutually agreeable terms, if agreement on lease terms cannot be found, a mutually acceptable real estate professional shall be selected to mediate the terms of the lease.
So the contract isn't good where we just give them a notice when their contract's up, the contract,
I mean, the contract has been up since the end of 13, and we have been on a month-to-month basis since then.
Let's get through this motion. Donnie's got a motion to put it up for sale. Do I hear a second?
I'd like to talk about it before we get into motions, Donnie.
Well, I guess I'd like to get legal, don't have to give notice, though. If you're gonna put it up for sale, I mean, he can make the motion to put it up for sale, but we still have to give that tenant notice, correct?
Correct.
That was
But I
part-
do think before we do that, I think we are still bound to try to go to mediation on the terms if this can't be handled as we're sitting here today, or, you know, even if we were in a meeting with Mr. McDaniel one-on-one.
You're saying we're jumping, we're missing a step there, correct?
Correct.
Now, like I said, I want to do everything legal, and,
Well, just on topic, like maintenance and repairs, you know, the thing about that is, it's in the river, and, you know, discussions we've had through the years, a lot of years, that expensive, it's very expensive whenever you have to have something done. When we had the hall done, it was
$275,
$275. So as long as we own it, you know, we're paying these big bills. If next week the hall has to be repaired again, that's on us. You know, we've leased it for a long time. It's established. And I don't know if we've actually asked him if he wants to purchase it, what his answer was, but it's just all the maintenance costs have been, it's been quite a bit of money.
and quite a bit of money. And it being city property, you know, we would have to take and put it up for sale. I mean, I don't think legally we can just sell it to him.
well, we'd have to
Without putting
advertise it, correct?
Please?
We would have to advertise it.
Yes.
It would be a bidding process.
Does the barge leak? Is it taking on water?
I mean, it seeps, he's got pumps in it. But the floats, we've got more problems with the docks right now than we do the, I see Mr. Snyder's here. If there's any questions about the docks, I think Tom's the one that placed the docks back, some years back. The docks are actually foam filled. They're taking on water now on 2 of them. So the foam's pretty well saturated. The head dock needs some attention to it. Spud pole's been. I mean, these are all things that can be corrected, but at whose expense?
We've got approximately what, in expenses already, $750,000?
We're probably, with the hall repair and some miscellaneous stuff down there, we're probably about 400,000 into it, not counting with prior to the hall repair.
I was looking for the letter, because I had the letter in here. And this, mind you, was in 2011, but it was by Davis and Company, Marine Surveyors, Engineers, and Consultants. I believe this must have been for our insurance company. And at that time, the estimated market value was $265,000. The estimated replacement cost was $525,000.
You say 520,000, Leslie?
525 for
Replace.
replacement, and the market value was 265. And like I said, that was in 2011.
So under the language of the old agreement, he has first option, correct?
On the Dolphins down there, is there room to dock another vessel there?
On the Dolphins there is, but you remember our transom docks are moored right now to the Dolphins. So you would have to either put like another lash barge against the Dolphins. But the transom docks are, again, they're using as a diverter now.
Right.
Am I correct, Tom?
when the barge first came there, we had to put an additional piece of steel to make the gangway come from ashore and be able to be used, okay? So, and I believe that the gangway is missing from all the consideration. It's not, I believe it's not in, that he's purchasing that, that gangway is still owned by the
By the
city.
city, correct.
Well, and, I mean, that's a consideration too, right? I mean, if there were other entities that wanted to come to, you know, river cruises,
We've had some excursion boats stop and just lash on the transom
Right.
docks, but they had to actually go up on the barge to exit out the gangway.
That's correct.
so it might be important to address that in any new lease agreement.
Yeah, we definitely want to be able to have other bigger boats, the moorn there. I think they had a Navy vessel stop there and actually had people board it where we had to actually go over
That was
top there.
the Evansville LST. Came and was there a short period of time. But still, the barges, the small barges that the other boats are tied up to, Mike went back and changed the Corps of Engineers permit because the layout of, as it is today, is not the same as the layout when we first got a permit for the city.
Right, on the aft side, we're long compared to the original permit.
That's correct. And so he went back and he got that changed, so that the way it is now, he's in compliance because it's been changed.
Correct.
Well,
But
as
like she was saying, though, I'd like to make sure that we always have easement or walk to get to those transom docks for anything else lashing up there on a temporary or permanent.
well, I mean, would it make sense just to limit the lease to just the principal business barge and the restaurant? I mean, and then we could give them a license to use the rest of this, you know, the floats and the walkways and the gangway.
Like I said, this board's going to have to decide who's going to be responsible for maintaining those docks at that point then. Because right now,
Walkway is on the restaurant barge itself.
correct.
Correct.
He uses that for a dining area, doesn't he?
Correct, the outside.
There's another boat attached to it now, so we're liable for that too, right?
Please?
With the other boat being attached to it, that falls in our liability too, right?
Well, I don't think it's
It
anything
makes it
like.
one boat.
Well, like I say, it's a separate boat. He's got his own,
He owns that.
yeah. Has his own title to
I mean,
that boat.
he did comply when, I do have a letter in here from the Department of Army from August 29th of 14, where they consider the facility to be in compliance with the permit.
So in our permit, it's okay to moor that barge.
Correct.
And that's why we just
But
discussed.
in saying that, though, he's given the rights to Mr. Fryman to inspect that. And I think we've passed, or you do have an ordinance in place
Pass
for
the
that.
ordinance. Mhm.
What I'm trying to do is get the city out from underneath all this liability and cost by, giving him notice that, we're not thinking about leasing it no more. We'd like to see it go up for sale.
Well, and Donnie, you didn't cut the deal, I didn't cut the deal, but I want to make sure he has his due process in this deal, though.
Well, and I'm also, authorized, Mr. Rowan has offered to actually buy the boat. I mean, we have a contract right now for $1, if another lease can't be renewed or constructed here. And so it could be a win-win situation if we could enforce that provision of the agreement and have Mr. Rowan purchase this for consideration at some substantial substantially less than fair market value at $1 or $1,000. He's willing to work within that range. That would absolve the city of any kind of liability and repairs.
But the contract does also require him to move the barge to a new location if he does that.
I mean, I would see that as an optional, it would be optionally and mutually agreeable, but, that's something that we wouldn't necessarily, enforce. If the city required us to move, our goal is to remain where we are. But if we're talking about terms of liability and who inherits the liability, then I think if we can make an agreement, or at least an amendment to that agreement, to where if we purchase that for consideration, then the barge could remain in place. I mean, if that would be a term that's acceptable to the city, then.
Well, like he said, we didn't make this agreement, but the thing is, I mean, if we were to sell it, the Board of Works to sell it, and if you remember, I put that in our original draft that I sent to you, that it would have to be by a bid process for disposal of personal property under Indiana Code 531 and 522.22.5.
We see that. The problem with the bid process, we've had trouble with the appraisal and coming up with a fair market value. We don't know what a bid would actually look like, so there's nothing we can rely on to say yes or no to the bid process. What could come out of the bid process is that he ends up with a sale price of $500,000, for example, and that wouldn't be a beneficial deal for Mr. Rowan. What would be a lot more beneficial to get the city out from this liability and this constant repair and maintenance would be just a flat sale for $1,000, and he would take over all maintenance and cost after that point.
That is easier, Mr. McDaniel, but what she's saying is the city's not permitted to do that. I mean, we have to get appraisals and offer everybody an equal opportunity to put a bid in on the property. I mean, it's easier, but it's not legal.
The thing is, you take that barge, you're taking the transit with it and all. What are we gonna do with the bridge? That's what's holding it up now. Barge moves, you gotta dock it up.
Yeah, you would have to come up with some other type of lashing for the,
We'd have to put some kind of barge or hold the transit up.
Well, we could remove that. There was another one around here somewhere. Where'd it go?
it got sold along with that other barge.
Well, I
You gotta
mean,
hand
the
it
whole
back
thing
there.
you were talking about as far as other possible people coming down there or using the docks, do you think the docks as is could be used for other excursions?
The existing transom docks? If so, they'll need repair. Like I say, right now, they need some attention to. Mr. Snyder has his hand up back here, Your Honor.
Yeah, but with that, see, that excursion boat did come.
Mm-hmm.
But docking he's got right now will not keep people to handle a couple hundred people. It's not big enough.
No.
Well, and it's not really safe
Right,
either.
Tom?
There's
It
no,
depends, it depends on the size of the excursion boat. Okay, and it also depends on how you would tie it up. You would have to take those existing barges and move them so they're parallel with the existing barge. Okay, or you could tie it up to his barge, but you'd have to move his little barge.
Yeah.
That's the situation. Or, say the city was going out and getting people, these boats to tie up here, then you would have to arrange for the docking, maybe using the other two. But in order to tie up to the other two, some work will have to be done to hold the boat off. It has to be, it can't tie up right to it.
right. Well, so I assume then it would be an additional investment as far as the city goes if
It
we
would
wanted
be.
something like.
Yes, there's another, I believe, when the barge went to the dry dock 2 or 3 years ago, and Mario, you were here then, when we first put the barge in place and then put the gangway on it, it tipped because there was no weight, compensating weight. So at that time, we filled the offshore side or the Kentucky side of the barge with concrete blocks. Well, after 4 or 5 years in the water down there, they disintegrated, okay, and it began to leak. So when the barge went to the shipyard 2 or 3 years ago, they put steel, either they put additional steel or they put pig iron on that side so that the boat would lay
Right.
straight. So if now you get someone in here, you disconnect that gangway, it's gonna tip. It'll tip because there are no wing tanks so that you can put water there
Right.
to balance it. So
Okay.
there, you know,
Well,
it
I mean,
just
so
seems
we
like
couldn't move the gangway from where it is, but I mean, there,
you can move that gangway from where it is.
you can.
Sure you can. Not Mario and his workers, but you would have to hire a contractor, and there are, up in the city, contractors that can come down and lift that gangway off, okay, and sit it on the beach.
She's saying far as leave it in place, you would need another flat deck barge to
Yes,
place
you'd
that
have to
on.
put it, yeah, if it was gonna be left in place, you couldn't put it on those little barges that are out there.
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud as far as the way that anybody that would disembark would necessarily right now have to walk through
That's
the
right.
Riverwatch restaurant.
That's correct.
Unless we diverted them, over to the side and whatever. I mean, I guess that could probably happen, but.
If
His
someone
restaurant-
called up and you had another boat and they were gonna tie up there in a month, you could make arrangements to tie up and get the people on and off, just like we did it 4 or 5 years ago.
Thank you.
And it seems right now that it would be a little premature to talk about any excursion actually linking up to it, because we're unaware right now of any contracts that are in place. All of that would be presumably hypothetical, and to suggest that, we'd be looking at some type of re-engineering of the dock and the platforms down at that location, I think is probably beyond the bounds of at least what we're examining today. Because we're looking at hypotheticals that haven't yet occurred.
How much notice is needed for the mitigation for this, or mediation, I should say, for this?
It just says, the lease may be renewed for an additional 5 years with both parties' consent with terms that are mutually agreeable. If the agreement on lease terms cannot be found, a mutual acceptable real estate professional shall be selected to mediate the terms of the lease. If the mutually agreement terms are still not determined after 90 days, the mediator shall set the terms of the lease, which shall be binding upon both parties.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but again, I believe in the due process, and if this was the next in that process, I think maybe we need to move forward with it.
Donnie's got a motion on the floor. Here, a second. Sounds like a second. Now, what do you want to do with it?
Who selects the mediator?
We could get together and try to do that.
Yes. Mhm.
I think there should be some language put in here about the city, the dual process, or dual, we have another excursion boat or whatever comes here, way to get them in and off, egress and.
An
But-
easement, of some type,
Some
or like
kind
I
of
said, I
easement,
mean, we could even make it so that it's just the restaurant and the principal barge, of course, his party barge, which is attached, but all the other walkways, floats, would be still ours. He would be able to use them, but we would still,
We still bring people through, it's gonna come
Right.
through his dining area there, but it's.
I don't know how, I mean,
There's no
that
way
wouldn't be
getting
bad,
around.
would it?
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, if
sure
there
you
are
would
people
appreciate the
walking
foot
through his
traffic, right?
restaurant, they're most likely
I mean,
just go to the restaurant.
We got another way to use it too.
Sure.
He's still gonna be able to use it, and we'll have another way if we bring another boat in here,
Sure.
excursion boat or whatever.
I think there would be a mutually beneficial purpose in that regard, and so,
Help him out too. If you got 200 or 300 people walking through, sure, somebody will stop.
absolutely. And
I wouldn't like, I would not like to see the city get in any agreement, the sharing it would give any impression that we're not interested in terminating this thing and getting out from under this liability. So we need to be really careful.
The other thing, I mean, we could do is work on a 1-year lease for, you know, a regular decent amount of rent, and then in the process of the year lease, start getting appraisals, you know, get our stuff together, let them get their stuff together, and then when the year's up, you know, take offers on it.
I mean, that could all be part of that meeting, correct, as far as the terms and,
Guess you need to check with your client as far as that goes. As far as the rent goes, I mean, it is, in the parking. I mean, Mr. Round knew that the free parking was only during the time the event center was being built. And now he has it down there that it's free parking all the time.
Yeah, we're still paying.
well, there's a reality too that every restaurant is going to have parking, and every place in Lawrenceburg does have some type of parking arrangement. And you know, right now the way it's been under the current lease is that, you know, the city takes care of the parking, and so now to suggest that every
Wasn't
customer.
under the lease. There was nothing under the lease that we'd take care of the parking, other than there was a parking lot which is no longer there because of the event center.
Well,
It's not fair to existing businesses down there, subsidizing him and not them. He needs to pay as much as the other businesses are paying.
This wouldn't be a matter of him being subsidized by the city. This would be a matter of him having to incur extra costs that no other restaurant has to incur right now.
Yes, you do. When it's full on the streets, they gotta park in the parking garage.
When I go to a restaurant, I mean, barges down Cincinnati or Newport, I mean, I pay to park, or, you know, I park somewhere for free, I drive around the block 10
And the restaurant
times.
doesn't validate that, you know what I mean? It's the customer that has to pay the $2.
But this is a unique business in the sense that Mr. Rowan is completely, you know, where any other restaurant, they could rely on other public parking. Mr. Rowan right now, just due to his location, he's confined to this specific parking arrangement. He has nothing else.
There's the parking garage at the top of the hill.
Sitting right there.
And I parked on Walnut Street and walked down there yesterday, so,
Again, this-
I mean, you know.
Sure, but
Again, this is just another example of the problems that's going to come up, gentlemen, one right after the other. This is not just one. I mean, just all along this whole process, and while we're at the point where the contract's up.
but I think we've got to go by what steps are legal to take though, right, Donnie? I mean, we just can't pull the plug on or cut the rope and let it float off.
We negotiate something.
I think what Aaron said is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
so.
and then that puts the next administration is gonna they're gonna be stepping up to the plate and making the decisions on it. Because I think they were asking for a 5-year lease, which, you know, I'm not gonna go for a 5-year lease.
Right.
For the 5-year option?
But-
No.
But as far as parking and things like that, I mean, if you offer the deal that Mr. Rowan has to other business owners, I'm sure they would jump on it. But, you know, and if you want to sit here and talk about parking, you know, he shouldn't incur that. I mean, it doesn't seem fair.
I mean, back when the event center was being
Say
built,
that.
we made the agreement to take the parking over. Matter of fact, there's a couple other businesses downtown, we made the same agreement, and it too will come to an end.
We're gonna have to adjourn in a minute.
For somebody. Well,
Jane's got her hand up there.
Gene, we got,
I got a couple questions, Your Honor.
I got 2 minutes.
Okay, first of all, the original lease is nil and void. And you got to consider, if you follow the original lease and go into mediation, whether you agree to it or not, the mediator will make the final decision. Are you going to be satisfied with the mediator's final decision? You need to think about all that before you go into mediation, because right now you're on a month-to-month lease contract. And the third thing I'd like to ask, does he pay his utilities for Riverwatch?
Under the old lease, yes, I believe so. Yeah, he was, under the old lease, he was to pay all gas, electric, water, sewer, and all utilities consumed in connection with the use of the leased premises.
So you really need to think hard before you go into mediation, because it states in that lease, whether you can come upon agreement or not, the mediator will. Will you be willing to accept what he,
Okay. Oh, Aaron, you want to put that in a motion? What you suggested?
I think we ought to table it for 30 days and get some more
I
information.
think we can get a
together.
clean copy of the lease, because I have mine has like 30 changes on
On
it,
table
Mine
for 30
says
days?
I've got about 15 of them,
Table
yes.
30 days?
or until the next meeting, whatever everybody wants to do.
Well, and just in closing, I would say that, you know,
I gotta get another meeting started.
Sure, we have taken a few steps backwards because our monthly rent has gone up. We've heard no discussion about the HVAC units. Mr. Rowland's incurring increased parking, and so we're not getting our buyout. So we are taking steps backwards, I feel, right now. And so we'll have to try to move forward.
Some kind of motion? or-
Motion to table this for 30, till next meeting?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Council meeting starts as soon as everybody gets seated.
Mr.
Or not
McNeil?
the council, the, Board of Works.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. I mean, if you're gonna sit and argue about parking, you know,
Hi, E.G.
anyone would take it. I mean, I drive around the block, and have my spot. I think
You know what I'm saying, though?
That would be it.
Thank you, thank you. Hi.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, I put them in a file, thank you.
So water stopped leaking still? Good. Hey, did he come down to, did they make it down to those drains in the men's? Okay. Yeah.
And with the well. Everybody ready?
I don't want to catch pneumonia. You know that?
You're supposed to have
You know
it.
what?
Call this Board of Works meeting order. Roll call, please.
Member Donnie Bryant. Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Member Bill Bruner. Here. Member Mario Todd.
Here.
Member Mayor Dennis Carr. Assistant Police Chief Mike Lanning. Here. Fire Chief Johnny Tremaine. Here. EMS Director Bobby Mills. Here. Attorney Leslie Votaw.
Here.
Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
And myself.
Okay, any announcements? Hearing none, approve minutes of previous meeting.
Your Honor, there's a correction. It's brought to my attention under the new business last meeting. Greg Davis wanted to put a 10 up for the bike race.
Right.
Mr. Lawrence objected to that, saying he should pay his bill, same as Bobo's. Well, it was noted here in the minutes to be utility bill. It should be a loan payment.
Okay.
Any more, Mario?
That's all I had, Your Honor.
There is, sorry, on the second I'm sorry, under new business, old business, under number 2, the unsafe buildings, it does say it should be 215 Margaret, not 415 Margaret.
Okay.
Those are the only changes, so to see a motion with those,
All right.
to approve them with those changes.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion.
I'd so move with the changes.
Second? Second. All in favor? Okay, committee reports. Fire department?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to inform the board, if they haven't heard, a week ago, last Sunday, we lost an active member. He had 54 years in the department. It's Howard Cleaver, if you haven't heard. I just wanted to make the board aware of that.
How many years fireman was he?
54 years.
He
He started in 1961 when they put the station on the hill.
He's a charter member, wasn't he?
Yeah. The only other thing I have is, everybody should have a copy of the May runs. We had 36 of them.
Police department?
Just handed out some stuff, Mayor. I can either go over it over old business, or we can take care of it here during committee reports, whichever you prefer.
You give us a lot that should have been in the packet.
Sorry, sir.
Everybody can read it over.
I didn't get it.
I got your copy too, but I was in a hurry because I knew he was on me about putting it in the packet.
I'm just harassing you.
Go ahead and go over it.
The last meeting, I brought up the fact of us needing to upgrade our radio systems, our handhelds, and our mobile radios, in-car radios. Believe Mr. Todd asked that we go out for a second quote. I made contact with E.F. Johnson Radios. They did come down that week, the same week. We demoed 2 of their radios, and I've not heard anything from them since. The gentleman that came down was going to call me to set up a quote and did not do so. During that time, I had also did some research on the E.F. Johnson radios, and I found out through several of the Indiana State Police troopers that they had them when they first came out when we switched over to 800 megahertz, and they did not care for the performance of that radio. The radio would not transmit properly. There was things there that where guys were, say, 100 yards away from each other and couldn't make contact with one another. So again, like we said, we went ahead and went through and and demoed the new radios that they've come out with. And as you can see, there's letters there from my guys of what they thought of the performance of the E.F. Johnsons as well. With that being said, I contacted a John Asher from Ipsix. They're the ones that test all the products that go on state bid for the state of Indiana. He could not put anything in writing per se for me, but he did say that Indiana State Police did not like the product of the E.F. Johnson radio, and that they spent a lot of money going back to the Motorola. So I guess with that being said, I would ask the board at this time to maybe move forward with the Motorola radios if we could. There is I think I did give you guys the paperwork on that as well, with the amount of the handhelds and the amount of the mobiles. In there's also a lease option that they've put together for us, so that we could budget it over the next 3 years, per se, if need be. And then also, with that being said, the promotional deal that Motorola is offering for us to get the price that I've given to you guys, that expires the 19th of June. Now, I did ask Motorola to extend that for us, and I was told that there's no way they can. So, the only thing is, it drops from the 37% to 33% after the 19th of June. It's It's about a $7,000 savings is what it is from the 37 to 33.
You talk to the other departments, they're looking at radios too. Combine all this together maybe?
We didn't talk about buying all together. I know that Mr. Clausen was looking at new radios, but there would be like a low band to, with us being on that 700, 800, it would be different radios, but I
Band's not gonna make a
can't
difference.
say, I can't say that they wouldn't maybe even do something of a better offer if we did try and contact Mark, and
Civil City's looking at it too. See if you get a lump price for everybody.
we could look into that.
They're only giving us the 19th.
Yeah, the
That's
19th.
convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But the difference is 37 versus 33, you're saying?
As far as the price, yeah, it's 37% if we order, the order is placed by the 19th. If it's not placed by the 19th, it drops down to 33% off. And they're offering the $250 for trade-in right now on all of our old radios. So I think that probably drops to like 150.
But there's no additional, I mean, you would have to
I
ask
would
for
have to
additional.
have a favorable vote to send this on to council for the appropriations, yes, from this board.
That could be done by the 19th.
I I understand that. They're squeezing us. I mean, they're trying to make, they want to sell.
Is it something that has to be done this year? It's not something we could budget for and do in 16?
We could do it. The only thing is with our radios, we have about a year and a half shelf life left on those as far as parts. So as we get closer to next year, that shelf life goes even further in to where they're not going to be making certain parts for the radios we have now.
I think you ought to lump everybody else in this too, so we get a better deal for all three departments.
I have no problem with that. I mean, we can
It's
sit
up to the
down
board,
and put
but that's-
together, or
Be a probably cheaper way to do it.
Budget it for next year.
But is
Yeah,
it,
budget for next year. Or
is it
whatever.
something that we could do next year? Budget it? Put it in the budget and or
I'm
even-
assuming so, but we probably will not get any of this that we're seeing here. It'll be the original price for just the mobile radio itself was $5,234 per radio. I would say that's, they've cut off almost a little over $2,000 per radio with trade-in and all of this. If we budget it for next year, it's gonna probably be that $5,234.
Tell them we're gonna buy more than one.
I understand that.
I know.
I'm just going by.
It's
They're
them.
working on your end.
Well, yeah, and I want to clarify, my radios are about $250.
Yeah, you're a little band, yeah.
They're
We can
narrow
do-
band, they conform with all the new regulations for FFA, but they're devoid of all the bells and whistles.
Right.
This is just a communication device, I don't need anything else with it. So I'm doing my own thing with that, I've got my own monies to do that, I don't want thrown into this.
Okay. I'm trying to save some money.
Well,
Go
if
ahead,
he wants
Bob.
to come save money with me, he's gonna get a cheaper radio, but
Well,
I don't think
Lawrenceburg
he wants
MS
my
will have
radio.
to do this too, but I'm waiting until the last minute, January 2017.
Still paging down on 400 fire department EMS, aren't they?
Right, but once they page us out, they don't,
Goes to the,
it's 800, everything's 800.
Once they flip the switch, it all
Yeah,
goes
we
at
are-
700, 800.
Yeah, we automatically, and like I said, 800's phasing out, what, 2017, Johnny, is that it?
No, they're actually gonna start flipping the switch. They told us probably,
I heard something else on that, but yeah, they're flipping the switch here in
August
2016
2015.
15.
or 15? Let me go my phone.
this is gonna be another deal like they sold the 800s, it's supposed to last 25 years, but it hadn't.
Absolutely.
I think it lost 10 years.
And it goes back to the fact that they've sold a lot of the 800 off to Sprint, Verizon, AT&T with their 4Gs, 5G networks. That's the understanding that we were all told.
If all three of us get replaced, all three of us need to get together and get a
I was going to
cut the
slow
price.
process.
He was doing the slow process, which that's feasible for him. He has less radios than what I have. So mine's, of course, going to be the most outstanding because of the amount of radios we have.
Won't you three get together and work on this?
And we use his budget, he's got more money than all of us.
I got zero budget.
That's fine with me, let's pay for it.
Wait a minute. I've looked at budget totals.
He's got more money.
No, he may have in different places, but you've got the bigger budget, dear.
Yeah, and it's used, and we're going to
I
use
know.
his.
Thank you, Jackie.
Well, I just wanted him to know that I know what those budget totals are too.
But since all three of us on the 800 system, we're gonna go to 7, get a price on all three.
I can set that up next week with Mark, and,
And you all three get together and
but I
do what you can do.
just keep referring back to this. I know that's not going to happen, and we're going to wind up paying the full amount.
What's the board wanna do?
If we're all gonna, I mean, if we're all gonna do it, you all are gonna do it, then buy them all at the same time, or wouldn't we get a better price
I think we
if we
would.
do it all together?
I would think we would, but again, with this here, it's, we're getting the 37% off plus $250 trade-in per radio. And that's, up the 19th of this month. And then again, like I said, it drops to 33. I mean, it's still feasible to do it at the 33 and see if it equals out with all of us going in together. But that's, because that's good till, if you look down at of course, the fine print, it's, the discount in December 11th is the deadline for that, and the shipment date of December 31st. And it stays at the 33%.
Mobilecom's the only mobile dealer around here.
Yes, they've got this side of the state,
Mobilecom covers us.
Ripley County.
Whereas Indianapolis,
It's a territory thing.
Yeah,
You can't go outside the territory.
right. You can't get a price from Indianapolis because it'll send right back to Mobilecom.
And then when you go to state bid,
Anytime.
that's,
It's a monopoly.
yeah, they're all on state bid, and
Yeah.
It's a money game.
We'll talk about it. I mean, I personally would like to go slowly, phasing in, phasing out. But I'll sit down with Mike and, even in my thoughts, if we break a mobile, we replace it, with the new stuff. But we'll talk about it.
So more of an attrition?
Got any more, Mike?
no, I know that what we decided as a board then, that we're just gonna, all three of us sit down and talk then?
We need a motion from the board.
Any motion, board?
I would so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Go ahead.
What was the motion?
Able to be able for them to talk for all three entities.
Are they going to try to get this completed by the 17th, or are we going to extend into the 33%?
They're gonna get bids and come back. Go ahead, Bob.
Bob, you got anything?
Yeah, I have our May runs. We had 141 calls for the month of May. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Bob. New business, have none. Old business,
Tired.
Mike, we went over radios. Leslie, Speedway lease amendment.
In your packets, there is a second amendment to the Speedway lease agreement, if you remember. It's pretty self-explanatory. The council, as the fiscal body, declined to appropriate the monies for the sponsorship and instead voted to allow the lease to abate the rent, lessee to abate the rent. We did this last year, and so the only change is to the newly added subparagraph K that we added in 14. It just says 2015. I did put this on council's just for their information, so they would get a copy of this as well, but we need to execute this under Board of Works.
Anything to the board? Entertain a motion.
I'd so move with changes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Jackie signed. That's all I had. I will get that to Rudy, so Mr. Perfect can sign it.
Okay. Review and discuss claims board approval.
Motion to approve.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Utility board, as soon as you get seated. Take 5 minutes. Take 5 minute restroom break.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's substantial amount, it's like $100 If we sit on it, then it's gonna cost, we're gonna wind up paying full price for it. But right now, we're looking at
All the west in the state.
and that's why I tried to bring it up last time with the same thing. I gave them the same paperwork. I tried to bring it up last time, and then that's when they wanted me to go get another quote. Well, that took time because E.F. Johnson had to come down, and then they haven't been communicating with me at all.
Okay.
And I gave them letters tonight from what my guys said about the radios. They didn't like them. They said they were junk. So that's why I wanted to move
back to
forward. Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah, I
why I brought it to them.
This is one we worked on earlier this year, right? Over there at the racetrack, the pump had some problems or
You
something.
guys
Is
went
that
to
the one?
E.F. Johnson. Or not Johnson, but Johnson & Johnson.
I'm just looking at the heating boards are obsolete. They're not.
And that's so weird because that's a new building. They're newer building.
I've seen the
Phone's working now.
told them that. Mario
Okay.
No freedom.
Okay.
I just don't get it. I mean, trying to save and show it. And it's not, I mean,
I would love to see it happen. It's going to take us a year to do
It looks like you could have revamped it
I don't know.
And then you started looking into it, because you started throwing this other, there's their own special.
They'll be more special, not bad. Like I said, Mark Walmart ain't even contacted me.
It's all about cars. 17, they're trying to, fix it.
Big money game.
I mean, I don't like it anymore, because it's always bothers me. The state bought it.
They should have never, they should have
He's got 7.
That's what they should have.
I think he called close to quitting time.
Good budget.
Like 270 calls. I was out there adjusting the spring. What's that? What do you mean?
And Mario.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he called. I was changing the
Which two do we buy?
Call utility board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Member Jane Pope? Present. Member Aaron Cook?
Here.
Member Bill Bruner?
Here.
Member Mike Lawrence, who's absent. Member J.R. Holcraft, who's also absent. Attorney Leslie Botal?
Here.
Utility Director Owen Clausen?
present.
Mayor Dennis Carr?
Here.
And myself.
The announcements?
I haven't got an announcement, but I got a request. I'd like to set up a loan committee meeting to see how the payments are coming in, or if the payments are coming in on the loans.
This utility board, Jane, you might want to.
Oh, I'm sorry, council, sorry, I'm bringing up a council.
Actually, under E.G. McLaughlin was going to come. I'm not sure if he's here yet.
He was, yeah,
Oh, he is.
he's there.
I didn't see him. Okay. Oh, there he is. He's behind here. We do have that coming up on the council agenda, so.
Thank you, and sorry again.
That's all right. Any more announcements?
I've got a couple, but I'd like to push them to new business because they're gonna result in some work.
Need approval of minutes, of previous meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee reports.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've had a number of outages here lately. We had one on the 8th. We had one also on the 10th of June, and then one again on the 11th. I'll go through them each one by one. On the 8th, we had a storm event come through. A tree limb fell into the primary, which resulted in a transformer being ripped from the pole, which is a problem, but the greater problem is it caused a significant amount of fault current, about 2,500 volts of primary current back at our Walker substation, and rendered two of our reclosures inoperable. So we spent the better part of that night into the morning trying to get the power back on. We were able to do that, but we have two reclosures now that have got to be replaced or have some maintenance done on them. I'm getting some prices on that now. On the 10th of June, the Greater Transmission System, which is operated by Duke, experienced an outage. Both Steve Lampert and myself, Steve Lampert from Greendale and myself, have sent several emails and made several phone calls to Duke inquiring of them what the outage was caused by. We have yet to get any response from them that has any tangible information in it, other than they're looking into it. We had another outage again on the 11th, which happened in the alleyway up here, just off of High Street. We had a 3-pot transformer bank there. It's a 120/240 bank with a 208 high leg. I know I'm speaking foreign language to you now, but two of the pots weren't being used, and for whatever reason, one that was unused had a catastrophic failure, which caused the other two cans to fail. I happened to be up there at that end of the street and was able to witness two of the pots explode, which was interesting. Anyway, that resulted in an outage back where we had picked up the outage from the outage of the 8th when our reclosures failed. We were successful in restoring power there and getting those things back on, but I just want everybody to know what had taken place. and what the cause of those outages were.
That 138 line you're gonna bring in will take care of some of the outage.
The 138 line is a great question, Mayor. The 138 line that we're still in the planning phases of, that would alleviate the Duke outage. And we have several of those a year. I've gone back through the records and looked, and we've had 3 since I've been here, which is roughly 8 months. And the problem with those are, even though it doesn't cause my crews to go out and to work and to have to spend city money and material fixing things, it's really disruptive to our businesses. It's extremely disruptive to not just ours, but the businesses in Greendale. Ager Glass, for example, if they're in the middle of a run and they have so much as a blink on the line, that entire process, that entire batch is ruined. I know from talking with Hollywood Casino, that Duke energy outage cost them upwards of $100,000 in electronic equipment. And every time we have a blink over at the casino, they experience costs that are in line with that. Proximo, if they were in the middle of a process, they would experience a similar, maybe not as expensive, but a similar inconvenience and similar cost and disruption in their services. Not to mention all the other people here who have businesses. It's just an inconvenience that, quite frankly, I'm frustrated with them for not being able to give us a definitive reason. Things go wrong in my system, I can tell you what went wrong. They ought to be able to do the same, but they haven't. So that 138 kV project would certainly eliminate a lot of those kinds of things and increase our reliability several-fold.
Thank you. New business, have none. Old business, have none.
Under old business, Your Honor, I've got one thing. It's the sewer vac truck that was voted on by this board and recommended to go to Common Council, which will take place during the Common Council meeting. So just a reminder of that.
Okay. Review and discuss claims board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Okay, hang on. Member Jane Pope.
Present.
Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Member Bill Bruner. Here. Member Mike Lawrence is absent. Member J.R. Holcraft, he's also absent. Assistant Police Chief Mike Lanning.
Here.
Fire Chief Johnny Tremaine.
Here.
EMS Director Bobby Mills.
Here.
Attorney Leslie Votaw.
Here.
Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
And myself.
Any announcements? 30 minutes previous meeting.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee reports. Streets, alleys, curbs, Aaron Cook.
No report, Mayor.
Oh, by the way, on recycling here, and they're going out for advertisement. It should be back in process here real shortly.
Okay.
Two pickups a month.
Yeah, I seen something about that in the newspaper, I think.
Finance report, J.R. Holcraft's not here. Fire Department, Bill Bruner.
No report?
Police Department,
No report.
Fire Department. No report. EMS,
No report, Mayor.
Building Department. No report. Okay. Moving on to new business. Maria Edwards, Dearborn County Adult Center funding request.
The reason we're here tonight is we were here a few months ago and we requested $60,000. And at that time, Councilman Lawrence requested that we take 30 then, and before we could have another 30 to come back and report to you all the things we have done to cut back or to bring other money in. So that's why we're here Do you want me to go ahead and go over some of the things that we have done cutback-wise? Okay. One of the things we did, our curves, even though we were taking in a couple $1,000s a month, it was costing us more than that because of the workman's comp. So we eliminated curves, we sold our machines, that eliminated 2 full-time employees, 2 part-time employees. It decreased our insurance rates, our workman's comp, and decreased our telephone bill. We canceled the 800 phone line that was primarily used for Fall Fest, and we're also in the process of eliminating 2 other phones. We had 2 refrigerators that were used by Fall Fest, and we returned those to the city to cut back on our utilities a little bit. We also canceled our helium tanks for our balloons because the cost didn't justify the use. We had a rummage sale, a week-long rummage sale. We now rent our curves room out to a local church, which is actually really booming, for $650 a month, and we were really happy about that. We did away with our cleaning crew. Now the staff, along with corrections, clean the building themselves, and I have to say, it looks very nice. We also started charging fee for our credit card users instead of us picking up the fee for them. And we're in the process of getting the city bathroom off our utility bill. And we've replaced a reformer employee that left for another better job with a new employee that receives less pay. And we also sold an unused refrigerator and an unused freezer. We raised our membership dues the beginning of the year by $2. We dropped, this is the big one, we dropped our health insurance. And part of that is because I don't really need it, Aaron doesn't need it, so, and the other young man that's working over there doesn't need it, and neither do our other 2 ladies. We have a sponsorship for our bingo ads. Woodland Hills is our new sponsor. And of course, Pine Knoll and Shady Nook pay for the food for Pickin' and Grinnin' for our dinner once a month. We also have added some new board members for some new ideas and new ways to bring money in, and also new ways to cut it. And the new board members are Randy Abner, P.G. Gentrup, Mick McNemery, and Sarah Crotherman Lansing. And of course, Bill's been on a couple years now. So that's what we have done, and we continue to do it every day. As a matter of fact, and I credit Aaron for this, our building is being painted right now for a very low cost, and the majority of the inside has been painted by folks from the corrections. So when they're there doing their community service, we have them paint a little bit, and then the next guy paints a little bit, and then we hired a local gentleman at a very reasonable rate to do that. So we have really cut back, and we have been trying to bring more money in. Actually, as you all know, because I don't have to tell you all how with the boat money, we went from around $250 a year to around $150. So that was a big hit. So that's why we're requesting extra funds, because believe me, if it wasn't for that, I would never be here. If we were still at $250, you wouldn't be seeing me. But that's where we're at. Right now, we have more programming in our building, I think, than we've ever had, and we're continuing to add new programming. And it's very well used. So, any questions that I could answer for anyone?
I have a couple comments, I guess.
Oh, sure.
I've stressed to the Adult Center that the funding from the city is going to continue to drop. As you get less money, they get less money. It was hard to explain to them even when I was the mayor, because it's a percentage of. But in the brief time that I've been involved, they've done everything they can to cut the cost. They still need X amount of dollars to function, and there might be a time that that's not there either. So they look for alternative income means. And if not, the other issue is, well, you'll be open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You know, you hate to see that happen, because I think council has always been supportive of the Adult Center, and we felt that the gaming money would last forever, which some of it will. But so many groups here have got to a point that they rely on that income, and just like you all rely on that income, and it's not gonna increase. I mean, our great Hollywood casino established their own competition. So, you know, they still make the money, but we got to deal with it. But it's very essential that they get the rest of this money this year and let them continue to work on fundraising like they've been trying to do, and they have tried to do it. There was some recommendations of raising the membership level considerably, and that would be hard on retirees with fixed income. And this is one thing that gaming money has went into place that takes care of everybody in this county. I mean, it's not just Lawrenceburg. So I would really request that the city consider the additional funding, and then next year or throughout this year, we need to try to raise money in other ways down there. It's hard to do, but they're really trying to do it. They're working hard. And it's not just this. You're going to get the same thing from the community center. I could go on and on because the funding's drying up, but it's still going to be there. But consider what you do for the senior citizens that I didn't realize I was one until a while ago. And when they told me I was on the board, I said, well, yes, that old that we are. But the money is really put to good use. They've really cut a lot of expenses, and they're trying to raise money. So I hope you consider the rest of the allocation, and then when next group or this group will do it, when you do the budget, then you'll have to look at what you can afford and what you can't afford. And then they have to see what they can do and how they can get the money. But thanks for the support to that group. I mean, we built a building, we gave it to them, they try to get grants. You still do a lot of maintenance and you take care of it, and it's well used. So I thank you for that. But just consider continuing the funding this year and see if they can work something out to get more money. They're working on grants and everything else, but they dry up too. But again, thanks to the city for what they've done.
Thank you, Mayor.
I don't have any problem giving the money. I think we should, but I don't want to see it come from somebody else's budget. That shortens the person's budget where you're taking from.
May I say something on that, Mayor? I want to see a period in this city where everybody starts to get along. I would really like to see that. And having said that, I don't want this money for us, as much as we need it and as much as the seniors enjoying it. I don't want it to be something of division. So if the money is to, I know the mayor has strong feelings about the marketing budget. I'm hoping, as Bill is, that we get the money, but I'm hoping it doesn't come from the marketing budget, because I don't want to cause any more friction than is already in the city.
It can be appropriated. I mean, there's money to be appropriated. I just don't want to take it somebody else's fund. That just kills them the rest of the year.
I understand that. And that's not what I'm asking. It's, as Bill said, you guys have always been friends with the Adult Center. You've always been there, and we owe you guys a lot. And we try to repay you with that by really doing our cutting back and really trying to get ahead. So I guess I'll turn it over to you guys now and just go by your decisions.
Jackie, is there any way possible we can find the money somewhere within the budget?
Probably not. Here's your check, Marie.
We cut 60% of that budget.
I don't know. I can look through the riverboat budget, and I can look through the MDF budget to see if there's somewhere where there's quite a bit of money sitting. I don't know if there is, though.
I think if we're going to do it, obviously we have a back truck that Mr. Clausen's brought to us. If we're going to do that, we have to do an additional appropriation.
Sure, do it there.
But
Back truck should be utility money.
No,
Why?
because capital expenditures aren't rate-based purchases.
But the big thing is if we're going to try to find it from someone else's line item, I'm not interested in doing that. If we're going to make an additional appropriation, that's fine. But as far as taking it out of someone else's line item, that we still have 6 months left. So So I'm good with an additional appropriation, but
I don't like the idea of additional appropriation because I don't like going over expenditures. And I know I don't want to cause any friction either with the marketing city money that we have left. But as of to date, she still has not hired a marketing firm. We do not need to waste our money on a new city logo. So I don't know why we can't just go ahead and take it from there.
Well, because the Works already voted, and they've encumbered that money. She already got the okay from the Board of Works to do
Spend
both
it.
of those things.
But that doesn't mean this board will pass the accounts voucher when she puts it through.
May I say something?
They're not either.
And Jane, all due respect to you, and I understand where you're coming from, and it's council business, and I've never gotten in council business. But I don't want to be, we're not here to go after somebody else. We're here for our own cause. And that's, I have to agree with Bill. I agree if you can appropriate it, that's fine. If you can't, we will right now we're needing lots of things over there. UCB just gave us some money for some stoves and things, but I don't want it to be the adult center versus marketing, I don't want that. I don't. I would rather walk off and not take anything than to cause any problems.
Okay, I'll take that off the table. Marketing director's money's safe.
Would it be proper if council approved the allocation of the money if funds are found? That way we wouldn't have to come back and beg for it again. If the money's there, if there's a line item we can come from, or if there's an appropriation that can be made, I'd like to see a motion tonight, and I realize I don't want to direct this to you, but I guess I am. See a motion tonight that if the money is available, that it would be appropriated and dispensed to the adult center. If it's not, we understand that. But to come back and ask again, if it's approved tonight and the money is available, it'll be taken care of. Thank you.
Bill?
yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. I mean, if we're gonna appropriate money, then and again, this is the board, but if we're gonna do the vac truck, for the utilities, then roll this into it also, but,
Aaron, what's your opinion?
I'm fine either way because, I mean, like, if we can find it, I mean, it's not being used, we can use it, or additional appropriation, because like Bill was saying, we got one coming up here in a few more agenda items.
I think you have good appropriations, so,
Can I have an opinion?
yeah, go ahead.
I agree with Aaron. If Jackie can find the money and it's available somewhere, like Bill mentioned, go ahead and take it. If not, appropriate. But at least try to find the money within the budget first. That way we can let them know if we find the money within the budget, they're going to get it. If they don't, we'll have to appropriate, they're going to get it, and they won't have to come back.
It's gonna put them off a month, we have to appropriate.
That's fine.
You need it now, or?
No, that's no problem. We have this person taking care of our accounting that does very well at it.
Put that in motion?
I'll put it in a motion to fund the Dearborn Adult Center, $30,000. Try to find available already within the budget. If not, we'll need to appropriate.
Or a second?
I'm going to abstain.
I'm not gonna rob Peter to pay Paul. We can do an additional appropriation.
We do it all the time.
I'm not gonna rob another line item. I mean, yeah, they may not be using the money right now, but who's to say they may need it? And it's just as easy to do an additional appropriation, because we're gonna have to do one anyway.
The guys like a second. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, I guess, gonna roll it in with the vac truck, but if we're gonna do an additional appropriation with the adult center for $30,000, to include the utility vac truck.
Okay, now I just have a question, because it's going to, what about the police radios?
They're gonna
Still
go back
working
on
on
that.
that.
Okay, all right.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Ayes have it.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
J.C. Gentleman, Taxi Service in Lawrenceburg. Did I say that right?
Close enough. No problem. I'm here basically, I represent a company called HIS LLC, and we're looking to add a taxi service to Lawrenceburg. The reason why we're reaching out to you is we were contacted by Hollywood Casino, also the DoubleTree, based on the fact lack of service in the area. They're looking for someone to service them for, I guess, for the conventions at the DoubleTree and also at the Hollywood Casino. They said they're lacking having people not getting service. So basically, we came to town, we talked to the police department, we talked to your attorney, and we're here to ask council what the next step is in the process to see if we can operate in the city of Lawrenceburg.
Carl put his hand up.
Carl?
Ask the board to table that until Mr. Lanning and I can finish up the changes. Make sure that he's happy with those changes, still wants a business under those circumstances that presenting to the Plain City ordinance.
Changes for the ordinance? Okay.
Quite a few of them better, so very outdated on the taxi service, not being followed in certain areas. It's on Mr. Lanning's desk. I just got it to him.
Yeah, and it does say under those rules, which I don't know if you changed that or not, he does have to get permission first from city council.
License issue, and
Right.
you won't be able to read that ordinance. And so-
I received the packet from the police. It's not, okay, that's fine. Just want to make sure.
Do you like table this till get through that?
If you're all fine with us finishing it up and him reading the package after, that's one thing. I just wanted him to know that there were changes coming.
Do you think that's something you could do by the 6th or bring it back?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the board want to do?
We wouldn't necessarily have to have you back as a Gentile.
Yeah.
We wouldn't necessarily have to have you back. You've been here, asked for permission, and I think that's probably, I don't know that portion of the ordinance is going to change.
I understand. I
Yeah,
understand.
right. And then, you know, if you get the permission, of course, there's the things you have to do. You have to apply for the permit. That's the $50 fee, and then there's 15 for each owner, require background check.
Right, we operate in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. We have the contract at the Cincinnati airport. We own 150 plus licenses in Kentucky and also in Ohio. So
Right.
we understand whatever obstacles or we have to go through, that's no problem.
Requirements. Yeah, and I did get on the website, and they are in good standing with Kentucky as a business in Kentucky, so, the limited liability company, so.
Right, and we're, like I said, we're even willing to put a storefront here as well to help tax base and revenue as well, and have a local phone number, local everything, local management team, local drivers and all that. So it's not like we're going to be an outside and just going to send people over. We'll have an entity inside of Lawrenceburg as well. So if there's problems or complaints, you're not going to be just, anything, we'll be here.
I guess just the motion table to the next meeting, and, but if you want,
Like I said, I just wanted to
if
be
you
able
want
to read it.
I understand, like I said, the other reason is the priority on is the fact that we are receiving emails and all that from the Hollywood Casino and from the DoubleTree to move as fast as possible as we can, based upon the fact that they are looking for us to start service, because they're having, like I said, prime example, just to give you an example, last weekend they had a convention at DoubleTree. They called, I guess, the local company. They said they couldn't get out to them. They got to us. That's when we came to the police department. We really couldn't service them. And with the new event center and all that, with the concerts coming up and all that, we just don't want it to be an issue or a problem. As you spend all the money and people can't get it going. And also with the police department, we also don't want the drunk driving factor, because there's no other option. And that's why, like I said, we're just trying to move as fast as possible.
How long would it take, Leslie, you think, if the ordinance came back at the next meeting for him to get in operation? to get the license and everything, the permit.
Fairly quick.
About a week
turnaround on the.
We have a week turnaround on criminal checks. We have a week turnaround on criminal checks.
Okay.
Right,
And once that's done, it's, just,
but couldn't he work under our current ordinance and then have to, I mean, if there's any,
Whatever ordinance there is, no matter what it is, we're going to abide by them, and I understand your concern. We feel that the area is in our growth potential where we want to be, so we're calling what the ordinance are, we're going to apply to them like we do in Kentucky, like we do in Ohio, and they change on a regular basis. So that's not an issue.
All you guys have to do tonight, the only thing you would have to do is give him permission to pick up or drop off clients here. And then,
I have the current packet with the current ordinances right now. I've read over that. I can start getting it, I mean, like I said, I can start with the driver to get the approval, and of course, the driver wouldn't drive until the approval came back. That's in a week's notice, and at that point, we can start service under the old ordinance, and when the new one comes, I can attend that meeting, get those, and whatever changes need to be made, we're willing to make those changes.
okay, well, he's put that all on record, and you can make your motion contingent on that.
Carl?
No, I'm fine with that. I just didn't want to throw it on.
I understand. I appreciate that.
No, I'll make a motion to allow him to operate under the old ordinance once he gets all the permits, and then when the new ordinance gets approved, to operate under the new ordinance.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jackie Stutz, Dearborn County School Grants.
she's not here. The three different schools plus St. Lawrence have turned in their requests for money out of the, I think it's 1 million that we set aside this year. And those would need to be approved by the council.
Anything on the board?
I make a motion that we so approve the grants to the three public schools and the one parochial school.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I don't know, Mr. Gailey's here. I think he wants to say something.
Representative.
You got 2 minutes, Carl.
No, you got 1 minute.
Okay,
30
whatever.
No, I'd like to just thank council and the mayor and the city for your continued support of the schools. So we greatly appreciate it. We know the funding's going down, but we greatly appreciate the support for the schools. So I also know there's representatives from South Dearborn here as well that would like to thank you as well.
How's the gymnasium coming?
It's coming along well. Coming along well.
How's the football field coming?
It's coming along well also.
Okay.
You want to be a politician, you don't answer anything.
Mr. Gailey, I'd like to thank you for opening up Central Elementary School for the kids to have free lunches this summer.
We are looking to increase, so any word of mouth, today was the first day, we had 30 students, we'd really like to increase that, and it's free regardless of income level. It's a federal program that supports it funding wise, so we greatly appreciate any kind of word of mouth to increase that throughout the city. It is for kids? It is, it's actually. So I'll take just a minute. It's for 18 and younger is free, so anyone 18 and younger, we're not allowed to ID, ask that. It's based upon just kind of look. For adults, it's $3. It's $3 for lunch for adults. So any adult in the city or anywhere around could come as well. It's $3. The meal is a main entree, a fruit, vegetable, and milk. The main entree will be hot dogs Monday, sub sandwiches on Tuesday, hamburgers Wednesday, chicken nuggets Thursday, pizza on Friday. So even adults can come for $3 if they want as well.
Isn't it also open to the disabled?
What's open to anyone?
Regardless of their age, though, if they're disabled, aren't they considered to get it free too?
No, there's still an age limit. We discussed that with the cafeteria management today. It's still there's still an age limit there too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If I catch you two over there, it's what it's going to do.
Again, I'd like to just reiterate what Carl had said. I sincerely thank you for Air Close, Representative South Dearborn.
How you spell your last?
LOWS.
Okay.
For the opportunities you help provide to all the kids in the county, it really means a lot. I know we've utilized those resources to help with career and technical ed funding, along with special needs services and just a whole host of things. So again, I sincerely appreciate that, and thank you again for the consideration.
Thank you. I'm Sean Spindler. So, like Mr. Lowe said, we do a lot with this, staff, students, everybody, and we really
Ron?
appreciate it.
What's your last name?
Spindler.
Spell.
Spindler.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, I'm Bill Harvey, I'm the president of the Lawrenceburg School Endowment Corporation, and St. Lawrence principal could not be here tonight. He's over in Indianapolis in a mandatory meeting, so I just want to let, he also appreciates the council and the mayor for the grant for that, for those monies, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie Votal, confidential agreement.
In your packet, there is a confidentiality non-disclosure agreement. Jane, as I mentioned, this has to do with the Gerner and Kearns, who the bank committee has recommended that we employ to help us with our loan program. This is kind of the first step. It's to be signed. It's not something you guys have to pass. So I can get Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Holcroft's signature later on this, but I just wanted to put it in your packets, put it on the agenda, but also to give Mr. McLaughlin the opportunity to also come up and talk about our recent meeting with Gerner and Kearns.
Thank you, Ms. Votal. Again, I'm E.G. McLaughlin, and none of the other bank representatives were able to make it tonight. Again, remember, we have Lee Kim from U.S. Bank, Chris Meyer from Friendship State Bank, and myself, and a few other people from the United Community Bank. Again, we had come before the, and I'll probably get this wrong, the loan committee on March 30th, and made some recommendations that received your blessing. So over the last couple months, we've been out looking for somebody to help out with the City of Lawrenceburg loans. We have recommended Mr. Dave Gerner and his firm to handle this. Again, if you would remember, we were looking, the criteria we were looking for were the expertise to handle these loans and also the administration of these loans. So these people have that, and also we didn't want any conflict of interest. It was important, we all thought, for the city of Lawrenceburg to not have that. If you remember, we had stated in the original meeting, there has to be an emphasis on privacy and transparency. So we were trying to fulfill those goals. As we've looked into that, we would like to recommend 3 phases in this project. In the first phase is what you all have looked at tonight with Mr. Gerner and his firm. Excuse me. And basically, that's determining the scope of the project. In other words, what do you have? What documents do you have? And all that. So I think he thinks he can get that done within a 30-day period. After that, there'll be a phase 2 on the project that we would come back and recommend, and that would be a full due diligence on what they found in the first phase. And then the final phase would come back was execute on the information found in phase 2. And again, but one of the things that did come up in our conversation is, we being the banks, and I'm speaking for the other banks, is we'd like to see it come out with a clean slate. We know, and again, we remember when we were here on March 30th, there was a loan meeting before a meeting, and there were some recommendations done, and obviously we're not privy to all that information, but we would like to see, we think it'd be beneficial to the city to, again, make the most out of these loans. I don't want to say lose the lease, we'll say make the most, to be positive. But again, that's totally, up to the council and the mayor or the loan committee. I'm not really sure who's it up to. But we think, and then let Mr. Gerner kind of look over every loan that you have before there's any action taken on any loans, and that'll all be part of the phase one. It's not going to, really drag out the project that much longer. I do not believe. I would think phase one, again, could be done within a 30-day period. Phase two, I would think within, 60 to 90-day period. Because of that, they'll be asking information from the different borrowers to see, what they can afford. So we think that would be a good idea, but obviously that's up to council. And then finally, the kind of the last four things I want to mention is the bank's involvement going forward. We were serving kind of at the pleasure to the loan committee. We can continue to serve and kind of, I'll say, look over Mr. Gerner's shoulder if you would like, and have meetings if you would like that continue. And again, I guess, and I believe that the phase one is just, that's Mr. Gerner's involvement at that point. You could see how it goes. If you don't like Mr. Gerner, try something else. And then the other thing is, I always say, how do we pay for things? And again, from our calculation, it looks like the interest you're receiving, and I mentioned this at the March 30th meeting, the interest you're receiving on these loans can be used to pay for Mr. Gerner's services. I think he has a maximum limit in the phase one. And then finally, it's the whole thing is the city committed to getting out of the loan business, which we heard on March 30th, but we understand there's a lot of political pressure not to get out of the loan business. Again, I think you really have to make a decision on that and come down to, what are you going to do? And again, these loans, we didn't get to this point in one day or 1 year. It could be, a couple years before, the city gets out of it. But at least you have a path to get out of these loans if that's what you desire. So, any...
The only other thing too, during our meeting, at that time, and I'm not sure what the date of that was, E.G., but I was ready to send out a default letter to the one loan recipient that you guys voted me to do that. He asked that I also hold off on that until he's done with his phase one. He just said that he would rather have all of the loans so we can look at at everything as a whole before he he said it very well may be that he would recommend proceeding with a foreclosure. But he asked that I hold off on sending any kind of, the first step in doing that foreclosure is that default letter. Like I said, I had it ready to go before the last meeting, and was having another attorney look it over, and he asked that all of that be turned over to him. And I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted you guys to be aware that that's where that particular loan is. I guess.
Who's that attorney
Which attorney?
that you're turning it over to?
Actually, I had talked, while this was being done with the banks, I had talked to a Kurt Laker. He had experience with a mortgage foreclosure. That's what their firm does. I had already, at the time, when the first foreclosure was voted on for the subdivision, I had turned that over to him, and we were, going through that. Then we were told to hold off because they paid the interest. And then I did the title work. I did finally get back at the end of May, and like I said, I proceeded to do the default letter and give to that attorney. But Mr. Gerner, in all due respect, I mean, if they're going to take all of them over, like he said, he may come back and say, yeah, we believe this one should go to a foreclosure. But this is what we asked the bank to do, and this is what we're asking Gerner and Kearns to do for us. give us the information so we can make knowledgeable decisions and you know, from their recommendation and also the bank committee's recommendations. So.
And I would like to add, not to, if you all want the bank to still be involved, if there's a bank that has a lending relationship with a particular on the bar, they would recluse themselves from discussing that particular loan, because that's just the right way to do it. So, but the other ones, they would. But if they would have a lending relationship, they would recuse themselves from discussing that. But again, that's up to the city council if you want the banks to still be involved.
So the way I understand it, we would be receiving information on a regular basis through the banks, through Mr.
Gerner. Yeah, I would think you would receive it through Mr. Gerner.
Mm-hmm.
And then who was the gentleman you said that was going to take a look at all the loans together?
That is Mr. Gerner, yes.
Gerner
yes.
and Kearns.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing and stuff.
They have approximately 15 attorneys.
Yes.
And this is what they do. They
Probably,
actually have
yeah.
like an asset management company.
Yeah, in
and
addition to
that
that-
asset management company would actually be the ones who would help us
Administer the loans, yeah.
manage
And they
or
have,
administer.
yeah, and they'd have, I think, I don't remember the exact number, Jane, but I think they had something like 100, employees besides the attorneys they have on staff.
They also did buy a building, I don't know if you've noticed it, but it's right next to our building on 60 East High Street. They had to buy a storefront. They don't use it. They don't use it regularly, I think, but in order to do any kind of lawsuits
Yeah.
with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac.
And any, to do any work with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, you have to have a presence in that county.
A residence, right, or not
Yeah,
a residence,
yeah.
a commercial.
A commercial spot, a
spot.
storefront, yeah.
And so that is actually what's next to our building down there, where Main Street used to be. Okay.
I got a question on the confidential agreement, page 3, A, under 6. Independent legal advice. The parties acknowledge that they have been advised to obtain independent legal advice and have had opportunity to obtain such advice with respect to this agreement. Well, I believe I should have an attorney look at this for me before I sign this, and that also includes the council people and all parties involved. So I want an attorney.
Well, that's what was in your packet. I thought if as far as independent legal advice, if you mean that's other than me, like I said, this was just so they have to be able to have confidentiality in the work that they do.
I understand that.
Yeah, and Jane, I think actually the banks recommend that the city would sign that, just, you're giving out information on these loans, so the banks recommended there be a confidentiality agreement between whoever you would hire and the city, just to protect yourself. But if you'd want that makes sense.
I agree with that, but I do want an attorney to look at this before I sign it.
Okay, that's no problem. And then I guess the next, as you stated, under the utility board, but the same point is that we do need to set a meeting. I think Mr. Gerner, I mean, if it is just the 30 days, I mean, we could look at doing, I was just looking at our council meetings in July. The second meeting is the 20th. I don't know how much information he would have for us at that first meeting. It may be meeting as a committee instead, but, that's up to you all. I know with it being July, and I know I'm out of town a lot too. I didn't know if setting up at 5 o'clock before our next council meeting would be feasible, or I'm sorry, not the next one, but it'd be the July 20th meeting.
And again, the banks, we'd step back, if you want us in an advisory role, we'd still, want to help if you'd like us to. But, yeah, I think you'd want to start meeting with with Mr. Gerner and, see what he's come up with.
Well, I'd like to see the bank stay involved, if you're willing to.
Yeah, all three banks said this, they would, just as advisory capacity. But just so you understand, if we do have a lending relationship with any of these borrowers, we would step aside for that particular lending relationship.
Put that in motion, Jamie?
I make a motion that we continue to allow the banks to advise on the loan issues.
And I think what he called it in here is the Lawrenceburg Loan Project, City of Lawrenceburg Loan Project. I guess that for consistency, put that in the motion.
The City of Lawrenceburg Loan Committee?
Project.
Project. For the banks that can continue to advise, with the exception if they have a client involved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I will pass that on to the other two banks.
Well, and I realize.
I would just want to make sure it's a lending relationship with that, not just any kind of relationship.
And we, can you just, well, I wasn't gonna have them vote on signing this, Mayor. If she wants to obtain independent legal advice on it before she signs it, that's fine. I still need Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Holcraft to sign it anyway, so that's no problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, go to old business, Mike Lane radios, we went through that.
We went through that, yeah.
On Clausen vac truck.
Yeah, in your packets, I passed out, and we touched on this just briefly, but I wanted to kind of come back to it. Jackie asked a question about utilities paying for this, and so we've got two different ways that capital expenditures can take place in the utility. One of them is through depreciation funding, depreciation finance, and the other is through budget transfers and capital expenditures, much like we're doing now. Some of the issues with the utility that we're working through that are going to be developments out of the recent rate increase is that we have got accounts set up to do depreciation funding. And what that means is every year Lawrenceburg Municipal Utilities will make an investment into those particular line items or accounts equal to the amount of the depreciation on whatever piece of equipment or fixed asset that we have. That way, at the end of the expected lifetime of that piece of equipment, we have got funds in those accounts to purchase a new piece of equipment. So that's something that's there and we're going to start doing now, we are doing now with the new rates. Do we have the money in there to make a capital expenditure like this presently? We do not. Because of the piece of the equipment, what it is, the nature of the work that it does, the necessity of this piece of equipment for the functioning of our sewer and water utility, it's not something that we can put off. Myself and Andy, we've spent, this is one of the first things I started working on when I came here, so we've been for 8 months going through the selection process. We've done a lot of things like selecting a chassis from another vendor, which saved us a considerable amount of money, sourcing a company that would pay us the biggest value for for the existing truck that we have that we'll be trading in, that we purchased in 1997. So this is a piece of equipment that we expect to get 10 plus years of use out of. At the end of its life, its usefulness, we'll have money in an account to replace that piece of equipment with, and either myself or whoever's sitting in this chair won't have to come back before this board or any other board to request funding to purchase that piece of equipment. So we're doing all the things necessary, we're taking all the steps, we're doing all the right things to avoid these kinds of issues in the future, but this is the reality of the situation today.
What's the cost of the truck?
Total cost of the truck is $379,000, $379,163.
Even?
Even.
Okay. Because if I'm going to do an additional, I'll need that figure anyway. Okay, thank you.
We did have a motion from the utility board at the last meeting, June 1st, to send to council with a favorable recommendation. And so that's why it's on here, and it just didn't get put on the council.
Now, that was my understanding. We had a favorable vote and a motion to bring this before the committee tonight. So I'm asking that we, based on the recommendation of the utility board, that we approve the budget transfer in order to purchase a piece of equipment.
Anything board? Entertain a motion.
It's an emotion for an appropriation, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, appropriation.
I make an emotion for the appropriation for the vac truck.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? What about the,
Thank you.
So the board is okay putting that additional appropriation amount along with the funding request from the Dearborn Adult Center?
let's make a second motion on that.
I think we already did for DAC, didn't we, Jack?
Yeah.
Leslie?
Okay.
There was a
Yeah, that's
motion
good.
for adult center.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Thank you, dear.
Going both. Any more on that truck? No?
No, that's it.
Leslie, concrete attack or accounts.
In your packets, there were some concrete accounts that we're recommending we file suit on. I'm not going to disclose those names at this point, but just getting the okay as we have in times past to proceed.
I got a message from, 1, 2, 3, the fourth one down. It said, she will make a payment tomorrow. So if we could, I'd like to hold off like 48 hours to see if that happens or not. That avoids some legal fees.
Okay. Well, to be sure, Allison Schwartz in my office handles all of the concrete accounts. You know, I doubt that it would happen within 48 hours,
Okay.
but I will note that on there, definitely.
Are the concrete payments still to be made to this building?
Unless we have a judgment, then it's going to the court, and the court issues us checks. And actually, she did give me an update. I can let you know. We even have totals to date of what we've collected. Quite surprising, actually. It seems like about every time we send out a round of letters, we're getting full payments, at least, 2 out of 3. So it's definitely a good thing. But yes, I can do that.
You need a motion for that, or you don't?
I like I said, it was just really for your approval. I don't think
Okay.
you need any kind of motion.
Okay.
Okay.
But I can tell that person that if they make a payment tomorrow, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Leslie, Speedway lease amendment.
And this is really just for your information on the council agenda, as you voted for at your, what meeting was it? It was your May 18th meeting. Just wanted to give you a copy of that. The Board of Works did pass that today, so you should be good to go.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Who's first? I think you was first. You don't want to go up here. That's all right. Hey, I'll take everything and make it everything. I'm a big boy.
So, my name's AJ Waltz, and I just had a question for Leslie. Is there any way to get a loan committee meeting scheduled for this month? I know myself am looking forward to one, and some other citizens as well.
I do think that, as we talked about, the loan committee is basically going to take the bank's advice. I mean, that's my recommendation anyway. So, until we have that information from that first phase, I don't know that there's any action that that they're going to take. I don't know. I mean, that's up to you guys. I'm speaking for you, but my recommendation is, since we're hiring this firm to represent us in this, that we at least let them do their first phase before we proceed any further on anything. I do understand your issue, and if, as far as getting the okay from the board in order to, and actually, it would be that would be Mr. Bonchbach's request, correct?
Yeah, well, it'd be both of us working together.
Well, but you wouldn't even have the standing to request something like that. I mean,
right.
It's going to have to come from Mr. Bonchbach.
Yeah.
But there's a possible pending sale with Mr. Waltz in one of the units that Mr. Bonchbach, on which we have our revolving loan. It's on William Street. I do know we have a special meeting Wednesday from redevelopment, I believe. Is that correct? But part of the redevelopment's motion was if Mr. Waltz received the new home buyer assistance program, benefits of the new home buyer assistance program, Mr. Bonchbach that would be contingent upon Mr. Bonchbach paying the full purchase price towards his loan.
It was contingent upon the first motion, and then they resent the motion, so we'll have to wait until Wednesday to resend that motion.
Right.
But the $10,000 would be applied towards the purchase price and go towards the actual loan amount that he is owed. So basically, the way that I understood the motion is he can't take that $10,000 and consider it profit. It had to go directly towards the amount that was owed on the
No,
loan.
the motion was made that the only way you were going to get the assistance was if Mr. Bonchbach paid the full purchase price you pay towards his loan with the revolving loan fund.
Then I must have misunderstood that original motion, but either way, it has to be resent, and it has to be redone on Wednesday because they resent that motion and took the whole thing away, so.
Correct.
So that will be a new motion on Wednesday.
We are meeting on Wednesday on that, but as far as, I mean, that's really Mr. Bonchbach's call. That's not really our board's. Obviously, they're going to be okay with him paying the payment to his loan.
Right.
So I'm not sure. You guys have anything?
I agree with you. It's in Mr. Bunchbach's hands.
If he, I mean, as far as you know, that's what he intends to do? Or is that not the understanding?
Well, I wanted to talk to the council and talk to them about, or talk to the revolving loan committee about accepting more of a fair market value before you guys pay all these attorney fees on top of it, trying to get rid of these loans. Plus, you guys are currently sitting on zero on what you've received in on those loans besides interest. So to receive a fair market value on that is what we were hoping to work with you guys on.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Anefsky also has a request, right?
Yeah.
For the board.
Poppy will be at the next loan committee meeting.
So, I don't know, if you guys, the request today was from Jane too, to get one set up, just.
But that was before I knew that we
Right.
were gonna, what the banks had done, and we got somebody looking into it. I think we should hear a report from them first and then move further.
Okay.
But I don't know if my board agrees with me or not.
Do you guys want to tentatively set it for July 20th at 5? At least then people would have.
Will they be able to give us a report by then?
He said 30 days, so yeah, I think so. That's over 30 days.
Want to do it then? Everybody all right with it?
What days that fall on?
It's the Monday before our council meeting.
At 5?
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
Okay with it?
That doesn't really work with me, but if that's what you guys have to do, I understand that. But my pre-approval, my financing will be up by then, so I'll have to go back through pre-approval and get my credit score dinged for a fourth time. So if there's any way to move that up, it'd be appreciative. But if not, I'm understanding of that.
How long you got?
I'm at 60 days, and I was pre-approved on May 23rd, so 60 days from May 23rd.
You would still
So,
have it. It would be the 20th.
Be the 20th?
No, that'd be July 20th. 60 days, right?
Yeah, that'd be exactly 60 days. But then I'm not in the banking business, so I don't know if that's how strict they are on that, if I go to them the next day, if I'm over it, or how that works, so.
What about July 6th meeting? Just for these two issues, I mean.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a problem with that. So you okay with that, Mayor?
July 6th, everybody else?
It's too close to the holiday for me. I don't even know if I'll be present in town.
As long as we have a quorum, I guess, July 6th meeting. We can set it for a revolving loan fund committee meeting at 5:30 for just Mr. Waltz and Mr.
Think we get done
We
that
got a
time?
council meeting at 6, right?
Yeah.
Think we get done in a half
Well, the
hour?
only two issues, Mr. Oneski has a request, and then it would be Mr. Waltz's request.
What day of the week is that?
That's on a Monday.
Is that
First
a Monday? Is there any way to do it on another time? I'm out of town that week, actually. I apologize.
I guess on the 20th then.
Monday.
Half hour, I think we get this done sometime for
I'd
Christmas.
say we stay with the 20th.
At 5?
That would still give you 4 days before
Okay.
the 60 days is up.
Okay, is it all right with everybody, 5 o'clock on the 20th?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Bill, I'm sorry, I'll get to you after.
I'm timing this one.
You got 1 minute.
It won't take that long. On behalf of David McGower, 239 American Legion, City of Lawrenceburg, we would like to thank the city for their support for the parade with the fire department, the police department, the EMS, and even Bonnie Brown with a 6-passenger bicycle. But it worked well. First one we had in a couple of years. We'll continue to do it, but I want to thank you all for your support.
Thank you for bringing it back. Everybody enjoyed that.
It was a good day.
Young lady?
State your name, please.
Amy Wilson. I just had I guess, inquiry, excuse me, if there's been any progress on the Liberty building, if the structural engineer had been, or if any work had been started. There's more sheet metal hanging. We had some wind on Friday and more damage was done, and it's just nothing's happening. And
Sorry,
I met with,
Pull it around so we can hear you.
I met with
Talk
your
into the
uncle
mic, please.
Friday.
Okay.
We took the pictures of the building and sheet metal and where the water was coming from, and I'd like to say it in a public meeting that the assessment that was brought here about her uncle's building shedding water and doing all this damage, it's not the case. Water's running from the Liberty Theater all over the other properties from where I was standing with the pictures of it. We're in the middle of processing these. I'm not at all happy with the way this thing handles out. I'm supposed to see a contractor. I haven't seen a contractor. I have personally tried to call a contractor. I can't get a hold of him. But I thought she was here. I thought it would have been nice if she had answered it. But Mrs. Kreider is not here now.
This has been going on a long time.
I think since before November.
Please stop.
Originally, I think at that first meeting, she was given 6 weeks to get some temporary repairs done and 6 months to get permanent repairs going. And I just don't see anything. I mean, if the situation, she was living next to it, it would not be acceptable at all. It wouldn't be acceptable to a lot of folks here. It's dangerous.
We have to lean on OTOL, on the parts of it. I mean, we have.
Well, is that correct, what she said? Was it
Oh,
6
yes.
months? And when was the 6 months from? When did that start?
I believe it was before Christmas. Yeah, it was before November.
So it's been like 8
Been 8 months. I mean, the request needs to go to the Board of Works to proceed with the unsafe. I mean,
I don't want to cause any, I'd just like to see some progress from Ms. Kreider and Mr. Kreider. I think that they're playing games with us at this point,
Carl,
in my
you get the
opinion.
Information, next Board of Works may bring it to us.
May I ask a question of Carl,
Okay.
Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Has she hired a structural engineer, and has that structural engineer been in contact with you?
I can only go by what they tell me. I've seen some business going on inside there. The alley was blocked for a couple days. I had to inform them that you can't just go out and block an alley, and
So your answer is, I don't know if she has a structural engineer or
I
not.
haven't seen anything presented to me other than what you've heard in this meeting.
Thank you.
Bring it back to us next Board of Works meeting.
I'll see if we can have Ms. Kreider here too, or
Sure.
Mr. Kreider too.
And I do appreciate Mr. Fryman and the council, trying to help us. I just thought maybe by now we would see some progress, and
us too.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody? Okay. Review and discuss claims board approval.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
don't think anybody's ever posed.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, I didn't. No, I understand.